back. Joining me on the set now is Fort Wayne City Council President Charles Redd, also First District Councilman Charles Redd. And what we want to talk about, there's a lot of things going on with the city, and thought we'd get a first-hand view from the council leader to try to get a little insight to what's going on. Charles, again, thanks for coming on the show, especially short notice, but really appreciate you taking time out to come on. A lot of things going on, and we just want to jump into them and talk about them, and like I said, get your viewpoint on them. And I guess the first thing that I want to talk about is the budget. Just went through a whole budget scenario and everything. What can the people expect from I guess I would say expect. What good came out of the budget, and maybe what some of the things that maybe not so good came out of the budget?
Well, I think that the most important thing, and that item which should be of great importance to the citizens of Fort Wayne, is that there was no tax increase.
Okay.
We passed a budget that for the first time began to plan the use of the dollars that would be derived from the county option income tax, which City Council passed its portion of it back in March of 1989. Mm-hmm. So beginning in January of 1999, there will be more capital improvement projects underway and completed. For the First District, after meeting with representatives of the 16 neighborhood associations, it was their decision that they wanted to go about relieving surface water from their various neighborhoods. There will be curbs and sidewalks installed along Wayne Street and Madison Street. And then there's the Community-Oriented Policing Service Program. The acronym is COPS. But believe me, that was not my suggestion,
okay.
Which is a program that will put an officer, a uniform officer, with support in 3 different neighborhoods in the First District, and perhaps 2 different neighborhoods in the 6th District, mm-hmm. where there's a lot of criminal activity going on, and hopefully rapport and a strong positive relationship with law enforcement officials will develop. It's a program that's similar to the one that's underway in Flint, Michigan, and and has marked success. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope that we'll be able to assist people to feel safe and secure in their homes and in their neighborhoods.
There's some people that were a little upset about that, though. Thought that the First and the Sixth were being singled out for crime, and wondered why some of the other districts didn't do anything like that. But I guess, like you say, maybe because of the crime rate.
Well, the process was something that was really important. Former Councilman Jimmy Steer and I convened the first meeting in January of 1989, and we asked the people what it was that they felt was most important in their respective neighborhoods. And of course, you're going to have things like street repairs, curbs, sidewalks, and lighting, and other capital improvement projects. Mm-hmm. And we asked them to prioritize them. And then there were separate meetings with representatives of the 6th District, and I met on 3 additional occasions with people in the 1st District, mm-hmm. and the top priority was public safety. People were just being tired of being burglarized, robbed in other fashions, okay. Raped, molested. They're awfully tired of being intimidated by people who deal in drugs. Mm-hmm. I call them dealers of death. Mm-hmm. And so they felt that if they had more police protection, if we had the kind of program where an officer or officers would be highly visible in the high crime areas, no matter whose district it's in,
okay.
that would at least gain control to some extent, and if it did not, it would at least move it from their neighborhood to perhaps another neighborhood. But the idea is that the people who live in the 1st District said, we need some relief.
Okay.
And the only way we could have provided relief for them is by having additional revenues, and the only means that we had available to us at that time was the passage of the county option income tax. So okay. It provides revenue, the capital improvement projects, police protection and other neighborhood services will be forthcoming.
Okay. Talking about increases, the water rate increase, 21%. My first question is 21% going to get it? Is that going to take care of all the problems?
Well, the process is that we are the financial body of the city, that is City Council. Mm-hmm. And before the rate increase would be implemented, it has to go before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. You're very familiar with that agency because your other full-time job is with the utility.
Right.
Now, the City Council reduced the administration's proposal from 24.47% to slightly more than 21%. Right. The final amount will not be determined before February or March of 1990, okay, and probably will be retroactive to the first of the year or to January the 1st, not retroactive to the time that City Council passed it.
Okay.
And the average water user will be paying about $1.45 to $1.55 more per month, which is a small increase when you consider what has to be done, some $20 million worth of improvements and other things.
Yeah, no, that's what, man. Okay, good. Another issue I want to hit on real quick is drugs. I know you were at the conference that Senator Coates held here in Fort Wayne recently, and one thing I heard you talking about is that we need to change the conditions that make people want to even deal with this stuff in the first place. My question would be then, what kind of things can the city do?
Well, the city can do a substantial amount if it forms a partnership or an ad hoc workforce with the private sector. Okay. All of the revenues for the city come from taxpayers, and all of us would be run out of town if we suggested a tax increase of 35% in order to take care of these kinds of things. The private sector derives a substantial amount of profit out of the Fort Wayne area, mm-hmm, not only in developing or manufacturing certain goods, but the provision of other services. Mm-hmm. I think that if we formed a partnership, the city and the private sector, and if we were able to come up with a plan that would provide major corporations such as General Motors, such as Dana Corporation, such as General Electric, with a significant tax credit for the reinvestment of their financial resources into the community that, for the most part, has been abandoned, namely the inner or the central city, where I live, where many members of your family live. You know, but the point is that we've had to tear down a lot of houses because they were unsafe. Right. There's still more of that needs to take place. If there was a rebuilding of the neighborhoods, provide single-family housing, maybe families or multifamily housing, no more than 4 to 8 units. If we developed more recreational areas within the central city, mm-hmm, if we eliminated the blight and provide high quality of service, I think that that would show those people who are the dealers of death that we have an interest in this community and they're not going to run us out of it anymore. Okay. And you know, we have to keep in mind that neighborhood, our neighborhood became that way not because a certain ethnic group moved in, right, but because a certain ethnic group moved out. Mm-hmm.
Understood. Final thing I want to hit on before we leave here today is something that's close to us here, right here in the Channel 10 studios. Recent proposal to use cable access funds for the fire and police pension. I guess my first question is why were those funds looked at, and is that a serious look?
Well, I thought you never asked.
You knew I was going to ask that one.
Councilman Tom Henry and David Long have worked with each other to see if they can identify sources of revenue that would provide some relief to the taxpayer from payments into the police and fire and other public safety pension fund. Mm-hmm. That's a huge amount of money that we have to budget each year for 1990, it's in the vicinity of $6 million. So, I commend them for making that search. Whether or not this is the best way to do it is questionable. I've got to play a dual role here. One as a presiding officer over the council, and then the other, of course, is as a representative of the 1st District. Now, I know that a lot of those dollars that are spent in public access are to provide communication opportunities with people who ordinarily would not have those opportunities.
Exactly.
Churches and philanthropic and nonprofit organizations. And to reduce those opportunities would create some difficulty for these various groups. So I think that it's going to have a lot of discussion. I've exercised the limited amount of authority that I have as council president to schedule a public meeting on Thursday. That would be at 6 o'clock in the City Council chambers. That date would be October the 19th, I believe. And so I encourage the general public or anyone else who has an interest to come to that public meeting. That way everybody can speak. The problem that we have with Tuesday night is that we cannot permit everyone who wishes to address this issue to speak as part of the council agenda. So that's why we have the public meeting, and then people can speak as long as they would like.
And I understood too, it's a public meeting, not a hearing.
Not a hearing.
So people understand that. Well, Charles, again, appreciate you coming on and giving us that quick viewpoint on all those issues, and we'll look to see what happens and maybe have you on later on to talk some more about.
Fine.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the invitation.
That's going to do it for this edition of A New Generation. Again, we hope that you've been informed. Take some of this stuff back with you and do something with it. And I, too, would encourage anyone that's interested to go to the public meeting Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, City Council Chambers, Thursday night, October 19th. At 6 o'clock, City Council Chambers, and voice your opinion about cable access. So until we see you again for A New Generation, I'm Steve Miller. Thank you. Good night.